All right, come one, come all. This is dropping in at Pipeline Audio number 114. And this one is called DAWlusional. So let me just get a couple out here. Sorry, be in a second. Oop, and I probably got to shut that up. All right. So let's see what we got. First of all, sorry, let me start that. Forgot to hit the record button. Okay. So, sorry. Okay. This is episode number 114 of Dropping in a Pipeline Audio, and this one is called DAWlusional. So, first of all, there's a lot of work going on at AIX DSP right now, and so that's kind of taking up all my time. I didn't have all that much time for chasing down the news of the week or anything fun like that. While we're on that subject, if you have a lot of followers or if you make a lot of noise, let us know, because we got affiliate links, and we can always use more people making videos, using our stuff in videos, all that kind of fun influencer or whatever you call it type stuff. But right off the bat, I want to last week's story is the gift that just keeps on giving. If you remember, last week we were talking about some problems in the Cakewalk installer. If you guys haven't known, Cakewalk has been brought back from the dead, or otherwise known as Gibson, by like a palm oil millionaire's son or billionaire's son or something. He apparently hired up some of the old coders and maybe some new ones, and made Cakewalk available for free. And I think now it's available on Mac as well. And so, we have to test our stuff in Cakewalk as well. So I needed to install it. And last time I installed it, I remember it changed the directory for where your plugins get installed after you install it. And so, not to rehash too much from last week, but let me just go back to what the original post was. So I just asked, let me get this out of here. Sorry, let me get to the chat. Oh yeah, anybody who feels like they want to join the stream, go ahead. You just click the link in the description. So I asked, is there any way to have Cakewalks installers not mess up your VST install paths in your registry? And I asked this in a couple places. For instance, let me pull up the Reaper forum. I did ask in the Reaper forum, I think in recording technologies, and here we go. And in Reaper, the guy just answered, here, try this particular registry path. Didn't turn out in this case that it was that registry path, but there was no pushback. There was no religious apologetics. And I mean, when I say apologetics, you're going to see, like, this really got going. So let's see if I can thread this. Okay, all comments. So one person said the Cakewalk installer doesn't set your VST paths. It just sets the paths for its own VSTs and sets the first path for where to look for VSTs. You can install your VSTs anywhere you want and add that path to the Cakewalk VST configurations. Now, there's several different things going on here. The Cakewalk installer doesn't, I guess you could say that it doesn't set your VST paths. It does set your default VST paths, though. If your VST installer is looking for where to install by default, normally it'll go to either C program files VST plugins or C program files Steinberg VST plugins. That's assuming you're on Windows, but I'm sure it's the same sort of thing for Mac. after you install Cakewalk, and this is the issue, your default installers will now point to Cakewalk VST. That may not be where you have your other DAWs pointing to your VSTs. This isn't really a big deal for people who only have one DAW, but this can be a problem, especially for the few shenanigans out there where there's still some installers that have to put it someplace, and if it goes anywhere else, you get really messed up. When he says it just sets the path for its own VSTs and sets the first path for where to look for VSTs, that's another two things. That's not true. It does set the path for its own VSTs and sets the first path for where to look for VSTs, but it's not that it just sets the path for its own VSTs. It changes the default install location for VSTs as they go on. You can install your VSTs anywhere you want and just add that path to the Cakewalk VST configurations. That's true. But that doesn't have anything to do with what I was asking. So I asked, has that changed? Previously, earlier this year, it had still changed where the plugin installers would see as the default VST install path. And so the same guy, I'll call him just DM here. Every time I install another VST that is not Cakewalks, I have the option to choose. That's not the question I asked. I asked if I can get it to stop changing the default path. At least with Waves and Plugin Alliance and Isotope. Okay, all of those have their own installers, their own default VST paths. That's not true. Well, it's true, but the default VST path has now been changed to Cakewalk, C program files, Cakewalk VST. And now I have about 10 locations where VSTs are installed, but I am very careful noting these paths so I can add them to Cakewalk. Pain in the butt, but it works. That's not what I asked. I just want it not to change my registry. So I say, I realize you often, not always, have the option to choose, but I would like the default back, or better yet, not have it change system-wide in the first place. So DM responds, have you tried changing the path to what you want when you install Cakewalk? I think most of my plugins default to C program files, Steinberg, VST plugins if I don't prompt for a path. Now, this is part of the real answer. Cakewalk has actually, so instead of this pushback, but this guy's not really pushing back, but the truth is, while you're installing Cakewalk, you can pick a location, and you can actually pick where you normally install your VSTs. That's going to make a little bit of trouble because Cakewalk doesn't necessarily like certain third-party VSTs, but that is going to set Cakewalk's install path to where your VSTs are going. However, it still changes the registry. So if you had plugins that work better if they install to the Steinberg path, and then other ones that work better if they just go straight to VST, registry has now been changed. You're going to have to keep an eye on your default, and registry has been changed, period. But that does let it work. And I would say for a majority, maybe not a vast majority, this is going to be fine. But that's the answer. Hey, caller. So I said, let me see if that's an option. And then I said, I'm looking up the registry key ahead of time just in case I need to put Cakewalk on this computer, as I don't have time to get to work where it's installed, and I don't want to break anything big. Another person says, the Cakewalk installer adds the path for Cakewalk VST to the registry, so it effectively becomes the default. This guy's telling the truth. He said exactly what we found. I don't know why there was any pushback. I went through and manually changed the key recently to point to my VST folder. Not sure if there's a way to make it not have this behavior or not. I do find it to being annoying, but no different than it being Steinberg VST, which is normal. Now, this guy's telling the truth. I don't know what the problem was. And so I had to ask him because he actually knows what he's talking about. So let me give him a shout out here. Luna Paradox. And I said, Luna Paradox, do you remember offhand where that registry entry is? And so he showed me 2 registry keys. That could be the end of the story. It's sad that this thing changes, but that's how it is. And here's the registry keys you can fix to change it. He says, I can't remember the exact one that worked for me, but it was one of those places. And pretty sure he was right when I actually did go and find this. Now, another guy, Chris something. I can't really pronounce his last name, but he said, responding to DM, that is not entirely true. If you install Cakewalk as your first music production tool, it sets registry paths that almost all other VSTs will use from that point onward. So make sure you set it right in Cakewalk. However, there will inevitably be one that doesn't check and installs in another place, e.g. Steinberg, and from that point on, it all becomes a mess. I've since given up on caring. Just add all the paths to all the DAWs and it won't matter. That's not a bad one either. And he also adds, adding to my above point, more in light of what Opie asked. Yes, remember what I asked? Let me go back to that. Is there a way to have Cakewalks installers not mess up your VST install paths in your registry? That's what I asked. So let's go back down. So Chris continues, if you install a different DAW or install a bunch of VSTs first, then install Cake, it may or may not want to respect those paths, but it's an equivalent situation. Double check that the Cakewalk installer at the time to make sure it's using the right paths, and then double check it again in prefs after install. Now, again, that's a right answer. You can actually set this up in settings, like we were saying, when you're doing the install for Cakewalk. That was cool of Cakewalk to add, because a lot of programs won't let you do this. So that was actually really cool. Now, here we go. This is a moderator. This is why, otherwise this wouldn't have reached this show. I mean, if you get a bunch of people that say dumb things on a forum, until it becomes a super big problem like it did at the Reaper users group, where even the moderators were actually actively helping the stupid, suppressing useful content, and actually making that group into a joke. Well, this is why. So this is a moderator right here. So let's listen to the almost the gaslighting going on here, and not to use an idiot's word, but it's what's happening. Trying to act like I'm stupid and I don't know what I'm talking about. So listen to the arrogance here. So this is why I call this DAWlusional. DAWlusional is like a special combination of Dunning-Kruger and just absolute Darth Dawkins level derpity derp. Like, you just speak with authority even though you have no idea what the hell you're talking about. So here we go. This is from a moderator at the Cakewalk by BandLab talk group. So this is the problem. If this wasn't a moderator, I don't care. But here you go. Aaron, let's establish a few facts. 1. The initial Cakewalk installation, assuming you do a default installation, i.e. the very first one that runs, creates the following 2 paths for Cakewalk VST plugins supplied with the installer. One is program files Cakewalk VST plugins for 64-bit plugins, and the other one is Cakewalk x86, program files, Cakewalk VST plugins, 32-bit plugins. These 2 paths are then fixed for all future installations and cannot be changed even if you do select a custom install. Okay. That's absolutely fine if that's what Cakewalk does for Cakewalk. That's not the original question. It will also establish the default VST3 path if it does not exist. And it gives me the VST paths. Now, VST3, we've been over this about 5 billion times. It has a very specific place that Steinberg says that you must put it if you are going to distribute VST3 plugins. And so, again, that has nothing to do with my original question. If you choose to do a custom installation, it allows you to set paths for VST2, 64, 32-bit plugins. Cakewalk plugins run this again is fixed once the installer has been run. That's true. But let's go back again. I'm going to keep going back here. Here is the original question. Is there any way to have Cakewalk's installers not mess up your VST install paths in your registry? Okay. So he continues, if you choose to do a custom installation, Number 2, Cakewalk has absolutely no control over where third-party plugins are installed. Wrong. Wrong. Even pointed out up above earlier in the thread by 2 of your users, it changes the VST install path in the registry. So you can still change where you're going to install your VSTs, but by default, it's going to go to Cakewalk. And if you don't think this is a big deal, set up some DAWs and see why, when you can't run some things you thought you should be able to run and you're chasing down little stupid problems. is a problem I don't want to have. So this is wrong. Cakewalk absolutely changed the registry, which changed where the default location was. So he continues, 2A. You, the user, is the only person who can control that. Wrong. Cakewalk changes the registry. If you do a default install, then they will be installed wherever the installer thinks they should go, which could be anywhere on your PC the composer of the installer chooses. Wrong. The default has been changed. When that VST registry goes in by Cakewalk, that changes the default. So your moderator's wrong here. Instead of checking for himself, that's the best part. He just goes and just establish a few facts. You know what? Before you pull that one, go check. Or when you get it wrong, just admit you were wrong. But let's go on here. B, this is why you should always do custom installs of plugins or use the plugin supplier's installation manager to establish paths that will be consistent. I did, but Cakewalk changed that. So here he goes on to number 3. About 3 or 4 releases ago, Cakewalk made a major change in the way it scans VST3 plugins. Don't care. It's in about VST3. VST3, I'm going to skip all the VST3 stuff because VST3 is not the issue. We know where VST3 goes. Cakewalk can't change that. If they did, they would be in trouble. The Berg would come after them, and resistance is futile, and you shall be assimilated. So let's just go to number 4. All subsequent installs and updates use the paths established in the initial installation process for Cakewalk programs and plugins only. He even puts only in all caps. Now, he's only completely wrong here. We've already established, and we're going to go on to really show how we know this, but that's not true. It changes the default for all plugins from thereafter. Number 5. Each and every third party, i.e. not supplied by Cakewalk plugin, comes with its own installer. Irrelevant. It comes with its own installer, but if Cakewalk changes the registry, it changes where that installer is going to put that plugin. Conclusion. So here, let's go on with this. Remember, this is the moderator of this forum here. And you are invited. I sent you a PM so that you know that you can come on here and defend yourself if you want. I don't want to nail somebody who doesn't have a chance to defend yourself. So you are free to come on. The link is in the description. The link is in the PM. You can come on now and tell your side of the story. So I'm going to go on here. Conclusion. Cakewalk is not responsible for, and he quotes me, mess up your VST install paths in your registry. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It changes the registry. Your other users have already told you that. That's what happens. He continues. As it is in truth ignorant of them until it runs its VST scanner to discover them and populate the database of plugins. Wrong. It sees it in the registry and changes the default install location. I therefore ask you to provide the evidence that it is the Cakewalk program installer that do so, as you damningly claim. Just remember, 1, you are the one who instigates the installation. Irrelevant. 2, you are the one that chooses the default or custom install. That's sort of the point here. You can actually choose where you want it to go, which is really cool. And that was cool of Cakewalk to install it. But again, that's not the question. Sorry to have to go back to this twice in the same post, but here was the original question. Is there any way to have Cakewalk's installers not mess up your VST install paths in your registry? So let's get them to continue here. 3, you are the one who sets the directories in the event of a custom installation. Yep. 4, you are responsible for add the scan paths to the Cakewalk VST preferences, not Cakewalk. Okay, I don't know what that means, but irrelevant. So somebody else tells the moderator, we should probably pin this post since many VSTs make arbitrary folder decisions upon install. You really need to know where you want your stuff so you can keep them all together and minimize location issues within Cakewalk. That's true, but pinning this doesn't help with the registry thing. Listen, some people don't like their registry being messed with. That's why we have a lot of Reaper users, because they're all the paranoid ones come to us. That's for sure. So I answer to the moderator. Number 2 is not true. And for reference, number 2 is when the moderator said Cakewalk has absolutely no control over where third-party plugins are installed. So I said, number 2 is not true. Cakewalk absolutely changes the default path that future plugins install to. I say that number 5 is partially true, but the default install path is still changed. And so the moderator talks back to me. Number 2, please explain how Cakewalk can influence a third-party installer. And number 5, if a third-party plugin comes with its own installer, it sets the install path, not Cakewalk. Wrong. Again, when you change the registry, you change that default install path. If you truly... Okay, so here's where it really gets funny. If you truly believe this, please go to the Discuss Cakewalk forum and ask the same question you asked here. I will have the fire extinguisher to hand. Well, you know me, right? Way back to the original days of the internet when forums were first a thing, me and Red and Roll and whoever else got thrown out of forum after audio forum because we weren't afraid of a little flame war. So I did just that. I went to the Cakewalk Discuss forum and I said, made a post called Installing Without Changing Default VST Path in the Registry. And I said, is it possible to install Cakewalk without it changing the Windows registry and changing where third-party VST plugin installers will default to? I'd like to keep it set to my current location. And sure enough, one of the users over there answered with, whenever I install Cakewalk, it does not offer to change the location. I think on a fresh install and you do a custom install, I think it asks for your VST location. The location field should initially contain your default location. It's been years since I've done a fresh install, so don't quote me on that. Now, well, did that sound like Darth Hawkins? Meow, meow. No, like Mr. Batman, right? Meow, meow. So, again, this doesn't have anything to do with the original post because I'm worried about the registry. But, you know, he didn't flame me. Nobody flamed me. I did a live video where, this is some foreshadowing here. I'll get back to this. But I did a live video and, I didn't get any flames. I didn't get any real good answers, but I didn't get any flames. So I did do that, Mr. Moderator. And you didn't need the fire extinguisher because nobody had anything to say to me over this. Okay, and so the moderator talks back to one of the users. Then perhaps it should be a guide in the files section. So I spoke back to the moderator again. It changes the registry and sets where the installers go by default. That is a fact. That's the fact. That's the issue. Okay. I also said I can do a before and after video of a Cakewalk install on a virtual machine at work, but this is a known issue. And the reason I say this is a known issue because I'm pretty sure that the Cakewalk guys had actually wrote us back over this last year or the year before when a Reaper user was having trouble with because his VST install path was set different, and then we found out it was going to Cakewalk, and we found out that it was in the registry. Somebody else said it didn't do this on my setup, and so I said back to him, that's what I was wondering, if they changed it so it's no longer an issue. About to run it on a virtual machine at work and find out. But the moderator can't just let this go or test it himself. This is the thing. When you got something this easy to test, go test it. But the moderator replied to me, as said elsewhere, the VST3 SDK sets the default location for VST3 SDK. Don't care where the VST3 goes. We already know VST3 goes in a very specific place according to Steinberg. So I just answered, and here we go, man. This is where it gets into the delusional territory, right? This is when it becomes apologetics, complete apologetics. And Phil Zio also saw this and pointed this out. So here's what I said. Moderator, I did a video that shows that it does this. I don't know the exact lines of code that Cakewalk uses to change the registry, but that's not the issue. The issue is that it does it. Also, VST3 is a different story. Cakewalk does not change that. Now, I'm probably going to talk about this video in a little bit, but I'll just preface it now. I did a live video, and I mean live, watching paint dry boring of installing Cakewalk. And I wanted to leave it all live so you could see this, because what I didn't want to happen was somebody be able to accuse me of changing something after the fact. So it was kind of a long, boring video, but it's there for proof. And it shows exactly what I said, that the registry gets changed. Anyway, the moderator spoke back to me. Correct, because it cannot change VST3 under the VST3 rules. Yes, I know. But hang on, it cannot change it for VST2 either, because again, it has no control over what third-party installer chooses as an installation path. Wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong. You put it on the registry, and the registry is now saying to install it in a different place. So you're just wrong. And then he says, as I have repeatedly said, if you do, on a default installation of Cakewalk, since it has supported VST, it has created a directory called, the Cakewalk VST plugins and program files x86, Cakewalk VST plugins. It uses these directories to install its own Cakewalk VST2 supplied plugins and instruments. It also creates the directories, and that's fine. Irrelevant. If you do a custom installation, you can choose the location of Cakewalk VST2 plugins. And that's true. That's true. It still changes the registry, which is what the original question was, right? But as pointed out by a user earlier on, you can set a path. Again, that's still a problem because it changes the registry. I don't want my registry messed with for several reasons. If you guys really want to argue why somebody wouldn't want the registry messed with, I'm happy to have that argument. In fact, you can click on the description here and you can get in, and I'll let you on the air and we can have that discussion right now live, which is fine with me. I find that a lot of the pushback people that make claims that they don't ever want to back up just won't come on and do a live debate. So that's fine. Tell me where you want to be. Okay, so Mr. Somebody, you as a software developer should be dealing directly with the SDK developers and the DAW developers, not forum moderators. Yeah, that's true. But what I was asking was whatever an end user is going to ask, because they're going to ask the same thing. It's not just me that's going to have a problem. It's not just our plugins. It's anybody. We don't want... This is the same thing. Remember, this came up years ago because other people were having this problem. And so I wanted to know, has this been changed? Is there a way to turn this off? I don't want to, I don't want the special treatment. Basically, I found that in the past, if we get special treatment as developers, our end users are still going to have the problems that they were going to have before. We found that out really hard way with Reaper, actually. So it was better to just get the same help as anybody else would do. And we actually did ask the developers before about this, and I can't remember what the response was, but either they were going to change it or they weren't going to change it, or they were going to look into it, or they're going to pass it up. I'm not sure. But yeah, you're right. I mean, this guy's just a moderator, but what is the first line of defense for a product? I mean, Reaper, for instance, never spent a single penny on advertising. Its entire existence is due to what the evangelists did and what the forums do. And the Reaper forum is an excellent place where people actually can learn stuff, and you'll learn about the program. If you had a problem like this, they're going to... there may actually be somebody on there who's going to jump on and try and nail you for it, but it won't be one of the mods. And if ever one of the mods, you'll see as this keeps going. I mean, you see how wrong this guy is. If one of the mods continued to be this wrong, you can bet that I, if not another moderator, but definitely me, is going to jump on that moderator as well. So, you don't want your moderators putting out misinformation. That's for damn sure. I know, we have problems with that in certain forums from time to time, and that's just not what you want. So, yes, he's a moderator, and I could deal with the developer. I did deal with the developer, but I'll tell you something crazy is that a lot of times the users have an answer more close at hand and at heart than the developers do. Believe it or not, developers, even the ones who made a feature, may not remember that feature. There's a lot of stuff that goes on. So usually it's the end users, who somebody might won't. And guess what? If they don't know, we have that show called I Don't Know, right? If you don't know, it's safe to say you don't know. I don't know is a perfectly acceptable answer. And unless it's your job to actually know that thing specifically, and you knew that you're supposed to know it in advance, I don't know is the right answer when you don't know. So it's still the right answer when you don't know, even if you're supposed to know it. But in that case, you do deserve some flack for it. But yeah, I don't know. Just say I don't know. Anyway, sorry I've gone off on that tangent. So okay, here we go. Number 4. At no point does it make an entry into the registry that forces other third-party installers to use Cakewalk. This is kind of a, if we're really using weasel words, you could say this is kind of like how many women were at the tomb kind of argument here. At no point does it make an entry into the registry. Wrong. It definitely changes the registry. And then he uses a word that forces other third-party installers to use Cakewalk. That's not... Okay, if we're going to use weasel words like this, then we'll notice that is not what I asked in the original post. It definitely changes where the default installer goes to it. It doesn't force it. You could still change it if you want, but that's not the point. I'm going to go back to this again right before we get to this video link. And sorry that this is such a long, painful paint drawing forum war. I mean, you guys have had much more fun with some of my forum wars before, but this is just Xenakios is one of the greatest human beings that ever lived. And for you guys who don't know, Xenakios was actually part of the team that developed the SWS extension. And he has his own reasons for moving in different directions and stuff now, but I hope the world... It's sad because we have people who don't know how much he contributed to that, and he's still around. You can find him in, I think you can find him in the Juice Discord, and he's around to talk to, and he's an awesome dude. And he's got some synth thing that I don't understand called Paul Stretch or something, but people seem to love it. So he's just an all around cool dude, and Xenakios is awesome. Let me. I'll say it again. Here was the original post. Is there any way to have Cakewalks installers not mess up your VST install paths in your registry? That was the question. So I'm going to go back to where we were. So he continues, moderator continues, how do I know this? Because I have a number of third-party plugins from Arturia, TuneTrack, Korg, XLM, blah, 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 blah. Not one of them has ever forced me to install into a Cakewalk created directory. No, it hasn't forced you to install there, but it will install there by default, and that wasn't my question. That's a kind of a straw man for my question. Yeah, I don't even know what a VCV rec is. He continues, if I run a custom install, they normally offer one of the following VSTs. But it defaults to the Cakewalk one. And here is, and again, this is why I'm saying this. This is why this matters. This is from the moderator over there. Simple, it does not change the registry, period. Wrong, 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 wrong. So, let me just pull this up, and I'm not going to make you watch this. I'm just going to show you that it exists. There's a video that I did on YouTube. I had to do it at home with one screen, so it's a little bit screwy, and I'm sure the mic is even worse than this one. It's on the Pipeline Audio YouTube channel, and it's called For the Cakewalk Registry Corruption Deniers. And this video actually shows... This video actually shows what I'm saying. It actually shows the registry being changed. I do a before and after of the registry. You can see it being changed. Some joker got on here, and I'm sure I'm getting nailed for this. Dude, you win. If I had pine points to give you, I'd give them to you. You win. He's being pretty sarcastic to me, but I don't care because it's funny. This guy, Euthymia, says, "Oh my God, now the truth has been told. You have blown the lid completely off this ugly corruption scandal. I haven't been this outraged since I discovered Isotope had installed unwanted AAX versions." Hey man, those are big. Thank you for your courage and tenacity. With this information, we will be able to, I'm not sure what, but we'll be able to do whatever it is. Wherever some rude installer is installing 32-bit versions, some software goon tries to force me to accept RTAS plugins, some pushy company thrusts VST3s upon us when we only want VST2s, some fascist programmer tries to set a path in our registry. It's good to know you'll be there, keeping them honest. Hey, I appreciate every bit of sarcasm in that comment, and you bet I will. I will be there keeping them honest. So anyway, if you guys want to sit through the 14 minutes of this nonsense, you will see the before and after of the of this nonsense. So anyway, so I go on to say, all right, I just did a live video so nobody could accuse me of fudging it and found a few things. So yes, it happens. It corrupts your registry for all future plugins, which is what I said in the first place. And let's remember, just going to run my mouse around it right here. The guy says, simples, it does not change the registry, period. Wrong. But I continue. But the answer was not to deny that it happens, but instead one of two things. One, that the installer now, because I'm not sure if this had a choice before, gives you a chance to choose the default VST install path, or two, go to, all right, nerds, go to computer/hkey_local machine_/software/VST in the registry editor and change it back. Yeah. So if you could install Cakewalk, it corrupts the Windows registry entry for other plugin installations. That's the whole thing. However, I didn't use the word forced when you come to install, because most plugins will still allow you to change it during the install. You just may not see it. So when you're on phone support for a DAW and, Contact, Native Instruments, if you're out there listening, man, if Contact doesn't go exactly where it thinks it's supposed to go, a lot of times you can have some pretty massive issues. So that's just one of them. But what it does is it changes it from wherever the installer would decide to put it to now it goes to Cakewalk VST, which again doesn't sound like a big deal, right? But it can be a huge deal, and so we'd rather just not have it change that. So anyway, I tell which registry key to change it, and I say this video shows it all, but it's long, but that is in the interest of transparency. And I want to be transparent, just like when we test mic preamps, just like when we test all this stuff. So again, the moderator says, have you checked the SDK for VST3? Again, I don't care remember, VST3 has to go in a very specific place. I'm not changing that. I'm not asking for it to be changed. I don't think Cakewalk hasn't messed with that. I'm not worried about it. Here we go again. So he continues. Cakewalk is not changing anything. It is following the rules of the SDK, which is good practice. Wrong. Cakewalk changes the registry. This was adopted by Steinberg to stop the problem with the random location of plugins. SDK software development kit, or the rules and the libraries needed for the being a VST3 plugin. Simples. This is just talking down to me. If I was a chicken weenie SJW, I'd call this gaslighting, right? But the best part about when somebody tries to talk down to you is when they're wrong. I don't know if you guys remember way back in like 2000, 2001, me and Matthias from RME, who somebody I respect amazingly, especially because the 20-year-old audio interface that I sent to Justin to test with Reaper still has drivers being made for it. It's unreal. Yeah. Yeah. If you, oh man, now, dude, you're about to get canceled with that. You better go fix that spelling. But yeah, you may not have had any problems. You may, unlike me, have read it as it was installing and changed it to whatever VST plugin location you normally want. But if you did that, then your future ones installers will point to that plugin, which may or may not be a problem. It will be a problem with some plugins, but not with most. Okay, so anyway, I'm not talking about VST3, but the moderator continues. Okay, I watched your video and approximately 5:20 you took the custom install option in the Cakewalk installer. At that point, you can change the directory that Cakewalk will install its own plugins. That's true, and that wasn't my question. Then you default install that creates directories elsewhere. Again, now I wonder why it creates those directories. Perhaps it is because it does not know where you have installed your other VSTs. I don't care. It will not overwrite any of your plugins because it has no authority to. Again, I didn't make that claim. That would be a straw man. You mentioned about being forced to register with BandLab to get it. Come on, it's free anyway. They are not entitled to know who is using it. I'm okay with that. I just, I forgot that you had to do it. I was trying to do a really quick install, and I didn't happen to have my registry thing handy on that computer. Finally, I spoke to the man at Cakewalk who builds the installer program, and he stated quite clearly. So, drum roll, please. 1. No, the installer does not create an entry in the registry. Okay, listen to these weasel words again. Let's look at what I actually claimed. So this is why. This is how debaters talk past each other, and then they can totally. If you ever watch William Lane Craig, he's one of the slimiest out there, or Matt Slick. They will just absolutely make a mockery of what you actually said. What I asked is there any way to have Cakewalks installers not mess up your VST install paths in your registry? So here's what the developer said, which is kind of crazy. I don't believe this. This is hearsay, so I'm not sure that the developer actually said this. I'm gonna ask them, and thanks for liking the EQ. So they claim the install. So okay, wait. The moderator is claiming that a programmer at Cakewalk said no, the installer does not create an entry in the registry that forces other third-party installers to install in the Cakewalk designated path. He said to the best of his knowledge it is not possible to do so either. That's not my claim. My claim is that Cakewalk changes changes the registry. It does change the registry. Again, that's the claim. It changes the registry. It changes the registry. It changes the registry. I've said it 1,000 times. It changes the registry. I didn't say that it forces third-party installers to install in the Cakewalk designated path. What it does is change how the default changes. So, notice that he didn't admit that he was wrong about, let's go back here, simples. It does not change the registry, period. Wrong. So without acknowledging that he was wrong, I'm a little bit hesitant to even believe anything that he says anymore, because when he states his next thing, he has to admit that he's wrong. He doesn't admit it, but by default, or de facto, or however you say it, even the developer said it changes the registry. As to your comment about many plugins not playing nice with Cakewalk, well, there's really so much sorry people about this, but I have to be straight bull dookie. If there's anybody out there smoking so much glue that they don't think that Cakewalk or any other DAW has problems with the certain plugins, I have some 8-bit sound cards to sell you. It's true that some 32-bit plugins, blah, blah, blah. None of this is... It is so fascinating how the host gets the blame for a plugin failure when 99% of plugin failures are down to the plugin itself and not the host. That's true. Well, I don't know about 99%. I'd say that quite a few are. So here comes the original guy, DM, the first guy to respond wrongly to me, who says, I can't believe this thread. Is this even an issue? Certainly never seemed difficult to control and or register my VSTs. I didn't say anything about that. I agree sometimes it's a pain that certain VST installers give you less configurations options than others. Didn't say anything about that. But I'm no genius here, and you just proved it. If I can get all my VSTs to show up and work in Cakewalk, anyone should be able to do so. Not the claim, nothing to do with the OP. Maybe I should stay off the internet and try and write some more music. Let's see, let me ask the questions. Would that be the case if your own computer never had a software that creates a default VST installation folder, and if you install Cakewalk first, it defaults to its own directory? Yes. I know that Reaper doesn't set a VST install path in your registry. The only one I've ever actually seen it do this is Cakewalk, but maybe others do. So the moderator speaks back to DM. And this is why we're talking right here, because this guy has insulted me. Again, Mr. Moderator, you are free to come on here and defend yourself. I posted the link ahead of time so you'd know to get in here. So he talks to DM. Exactly. Not disrespect, but plenty of non-technical computer phobes succeed every day. Did I not succeed? I showed you how to fix your own damn problem. So you have to call me non-technical computer Phoebe? You're a known non-technical computer Phoebe. All right? So I said, the fact remains that exactly as I said, Cakewalk changes the defaults that third parties use in the registry. I was right. You were wrong. Please move on. And I said, this is something from Phil Zio, okay? So I said, or to quote a wiser man, if Cakewalk doesn't do it, then why would I choose to edit my own registry to point the default install directory to Cakewalk directory and then ask people where that is in the first place so I could change it back? This makes no sense. Did you watch the video? Yeah. And I spoke back to DM. This has absolutely nothing to do with my question or complaint. And DM speaks back. I guess the days of learning a piece of software are over. If the software doesn't work in the way I want, it must be wrong. Did I not learn it enough to show you how to fix it, smartass? Man, see, this is when the Dunning-Kruger just gets so overwhelming that you just want to barf, and I wouldn't care, except for that this is one of those situations, like if you go over to a guitar forum and somebody says, hey, I want to use this particular pickup in this guitar, and then some complete idiot says, you can't possibly use that pickup in a mahogany body guitar. It only works on alder body guitars. That guy's an idiot. And now a whole bunch of noobs are out there thinking they got to sell their guitars and get another guitar. No. An electric guitar pickup is a motor. Just never mind. Let's not even get into the Tonewood myths here. So again, I spoke back to DM. Obviously, I can use a computer. I was able to fix what Cakewalk broke, so get over your Dunning-Kruger selves and just admit you were wrong. This isn't one of those ones where it's a debate where, this is kind of right, this guy's kind of wrong. No. Dude, you just got completely mega owned, right? You are wrong. Like if where is it? Let me get myself a DMCA strike here because I'm gonna have to play this. Hopefully this works. This is how wrong. Yeah.
Wrong. You're wrong.
Yeah, that's how wrong. Okay. So then DM speaks back to me. These guys just, this is when they talk about, Vin Curliano talks about pigeon chess. Like, the pigeon just craps on the board, knocks over all the pieces and declares victory, right? Or mud wrestling with the pig. You both get dirty, but the pig enjoys it and he'll beat you with experience, right? So DM talks back to me. What is it that you would like to happen here so everybody can move on? Would you like an apology from BandLab, a medal, a t-shirt? This group is meant to help people and be a positive place. Well, I just helped you, dumbass. This is that scene from Charlie Murphy and Rick James where they beat the crap out of his legs and Eddie Murphy's like, man, we should really help Rick. And he goes, man, we done help him. He ain't going to disrespect like that again. But anyway, if you think this is a real issue, file a bug report. If it is, they'll fix it, or you could always move to another DAW. Look at this, man. Isn't this like apologists, right? Oh, well, then go be a Muslim instead. You know, like, whatever, you weenie. Like, you can't defend your stuff, so you just got to take your ball and run home. No, you're wrong. You're wrong. Okay, so the moderator comes back. DM, neither BandLab or Cakewalk need to apologize. However, the OP needs to be fully aware of his facts before making completely incorrect claims. What was my incorrect claim? I was right. You were wrong. It changes the registry. There's a video that shows the damn thing. You want to sit there for 14 minutes and watch it? Now you're saying you watched it. Now you're saying you talked to a guy at Cakewalk who told you it changes the registry. So you're wrong. You're wrong. And he continues. If anyone needs to apologize, it's him, because Cakewalk Installer does not force the location of VST plugins as part of its installation. I never said that. You keep throwing in the word force. This is like one of those debates where it's like, does God exist? And the only thing, because they know that you can't prove a negative or whatever, the only thing the guy defending the claim with no evidence is going to do, he's going to insist on the title get changed to, does God not exist? So then you shift the burden of proof to the but I don't care. You can shift the burden of proof anywhere on me. I showed that it changed the registry. Get it through your dumb head. That's it. And sorry, I'm not usually this insulting or whatever, but it's just wrong. So he goes on. It just creates somewhere to install its own. Yes, just its own and no one else's. Wrong. VST2 plugin if you do not tell it otherwise. Simples. That's like one of those argument by emoji guys, right? You're wrong. You're just wrong. And so I wrote back, are you seriously in denial? It changes the registry. You are wrong. There is no way around that. It does exactly what I said. So they're talking among themselves. He makes the same claims that are absolutely wrong. And some other numbnuts, I don't know if you're meant to be wrong, but this looks like a full-on, like, condescending gaslight, whatever. He says, Sweetwater has a page what the default folders should be. Oh, you don't think I know that when I went in there and fixed the damn problem myself? Are you serious? So I said, this is not the issue. The original post was about Cakewalk changing the registry and thereafter modifying the default install paths of any following VST installs. There have been so many goalpost shifts through that derails about VST3, which has one location and only one location allowed by the Berg, but the original post is clear. How do you keep Cakewalk from modifying your VST install location in the registry? So what do I get back? Fine. And so the mod nails me again. For the last time, Cakewalk Installer does not change anything for VST2 plugins. Wrong. He continues. If you do a default installation, it creates a destination for its VST2 plugins because it needs somewhere to install them. They are Cakewalk's own plugins. Yes, it does that, but that has nothing to do with my original post. If you do a custom installation as your own video demonstrated, it gives you the option to choose a default location. Again, not my claim. Why fix it? So that numpties do not screw up their installation and go crying to support or social media. Whatever. So I just wrote, it changes the registry. You are wrong. I mean, what else am I supposed to say? He says, no, it does not do a default installation, i.e. not custom. It adds 2 paths to the registry for the installation of VST plugins supplied with the software. This is not changing the registry. It changes the registry. I showed you that changes the damn registry. You can look at the registry. It's been changed. Shows it right on the video. Do it yourself. Look at the registry. It changes the registry. You're wrong. You're not just wrong now. Now you're lying because now you have been told by the developer himself. Allegedly, I'm not sure the developer is as dumb as you claim, but the developer himself told you that it modifies the registry. You are wrong. I asked the man who writes and compiles the installer, and he has confirmed that it makes no changes to the registry. Let's look at these weasel words again. Man, this is like Deepak Chopra level nonsense right here. This is what he says. I asked the man who writes and compiles the installer, and he has confirmed that it makes no changes to the registry. And then I wish he would have left it there, because then he would have just been plain wrong. But then he says that can affect third-party installers. Those are both wrong. If the developer doesn't know that, then he's very wrong. And in fact, get that developer to get a hold of me, and I'll show him myself, because I showed it. So you're wrong. He's wrong. If your developer's that stupid, I don't believe it. I heard an interview with one of the Cakewalk developers on Vin Curliano's show, DAWbench, which if you are into audio at all, you better listen to that podcast, the DAWbench podcast. The developer sounded like a very smart person. There's no way he's this stupid. And so he goes on. However, you say he is a liar. Should I tell him that you are telling the whole of this group and Facebook users that he is a liar? In fact, let me he locked the thread, I think. Yeah, that's again just like a religious guy. Yeah, moderator locked the thread. Look at that. He locked the thread. This is apologetics. If you don't think this is religious apologetics, but guess what? I didn't call him a liar. You said stuff. That's hearsay. I don't know if he's wrong. Actually, did you see anywhere on here where I called him a liar? So here you are lying again. This is apologetics 101. But anyway, so he says, I mean, listen to this condescending talk. This is why, if you're wondering why I'm picking on a moderator here, this is why. However, you say he is a liar. Should I tell him that? Or are you telling the whole of this group and Facebook users that he is a liar? But try to sell a list with a thought experiment with me. 1, you have a brand new computer. The only software to install is your OS and your audio drivers. It has no knowledge about anything your VST2.3 plugins because you haven't installed anything. Wrong! VST3 always goes in one place. VST2 is another story, but it doesn't matter if you know anything about DAWs or plugins. 2, no other audio software of any description has been installed on this computer. 3, you download for installation Cakewalk by BandLab. 4, you take the option to do the default installation. Where does Cakewalk install the VST2 plugins supplied with it? Where have you told it to install them? Does Windows know where to install them by default? How many pieces of wrong are in here? Okay. Cakewalk can install the plugins wherever it wants. I never said anything about that. That's not the question. What was the question? How do you keep Cakewalk from messing up your registry? So does Windows know where to install plugins by default? Windows doesn't need to know where to install plugins by default. Your installer tells it where to install. Trick question. The answer is always no. Ha ha ha. Let me talk down to you because I'm an idiot. Now look. Now I'm getting. Yeah. Would it be understandable that the installer installs them in a directory it knows so that when it runs its VST scanner, it can find them? Yes, that's perfectly reasonable. That has nothing to do with my question. So I just answered, like I said, it changes the registry. I even showed how the next install of a third-party plugin followed the change in the registry. You are in insanely delusional denial at this point. And so the moderator closes the thread. For the benefit of anyone reading this thread and not reading any of the indented comments, please note the following. I have spoken directly to the man at Cakewalk who is responsible for the Cakewalk for the creation of the installation scripts and runs the build installer. He has stated that Cakewalk installation script and installer programs makes no changes to the registry that can affect or change the behavior of third-party installers. Well, either you're lying or he's wrong. I can speak to him. In fact, I'm gonna get myself kicked out of this group. I'm gonna post this right now in front of you. Am I still allowed to post in this? So I'm just going to say there has been a claim by a moderator that, and I'm going to put the quotes up. I have spoken directly to the man at Cakewalk who is responsible for the creation of the installation scripts and runs the build of the installer software. He has stated that the Cakewalk installation script and installer programs make no changes to the registry that can affect or change the behavior of any third-party installers. I'm just going to say, if that's true, and he actually said that. Sorry, I typed slow. Oops, and I missed an A. Please let me get in contact with him and I can show him how that is incorrect. Instead of trying to gaslight me and locking the thread after getting your last jab in and then running away, let's just try to fix this. That ought to get me kicked out of. If I get kicked out of the Cakewalk thing on Facebook, so be it. I almost got myself kicked out of the Reaper users group, which isn't that especially ironic to kick Pipeline Audio out of the Reaper users group, right? You guys should be really proud of yourselves. So here's another lie about me. Finally, the OP's own video proves the point, but he will not accept it. Can we move on now, please? Wrong. My video shows that Cakewalk changed the registry. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. At this point, I'll call you a liar because you lied about what I said. You also lied about what your installer guy said, if he actually said that. I don't think he said that. I don't think the Cakewalk guys are that stupid. I don't believe you, but could be. Who knows? Okay, so past that, one of the other canards, quotes, things that, like the SM7 that people will just parrot without knowing what the hell they're talking about, and you'll see it in forums all the time, is bleed is your friend when they're talking about drum mics and stuff. Bleed's not your friend. Go watch, what's that movie with Clint Eastwood, Gran Torino or whatever, where the where the guy says, like, these guys aren't your bros. I can't blame them, Bleed is not your friend, man. People answers, the vast majority of music. Let me just read this OP. I have a multiple mic setup on the drum kit, one for each tom, kick, and snare. Mics are connected to an audio interface. I created a track for each drum. As I expected, striking one drum is also sensed on the other tracks. Is this what is called mic bleed? What techniques are used to eliminate these issues? Any videos on this topic would be great. The reason AIX DSP exists is because of this problem, right? What was our flagship plug-in right there? Was the multiband gate. It's exactly because of this. It's not so much that you get stuff in your cymbals or get stuff in your hi-hat. It's that you get hi-hat in your snare. It's that you get cymbals in your toms, right? So Carbo, we like Carbo, right? But he's got a point here, but the vast majority of music people listen to has drum mic bleed over the decades. Sure, miking technique minimizes this level versus what the mic is pointing at, and some genres like to gate the crap out of it to serve that genre. So if one of those genres, consider gating. But if you're just recording drums in general, learn how to work the bleed to your advantage. This is often part of what makes the drum sound good as an instrument. Heck, some of the most popular drum VSTs include bleed, so it isn't an issue unless one wants it to be an issue. Now, I contend, and oh boy, will I get this crap for this. I contend that the bleed in VSTIs is just a gimmick. I don't care. I don't want more snare crap getting in my toms and more tom crap getting in my snare. I mean, if I really want that buzz when you hit a tom and it still buzzes the snare, I guess I could see it. But for 99.99% of the music out there, you can't even tell if it's electronic drums or real drums. And I never hear bleed helping. I always hear the bleed is your friend stuff. It's just not. People will say, oh yeah, here we go, let it bleed. Seriously, a good drum set has a lot to do with the room, mic positions, whatever. The thing is, with what we do with drums nowadays, we crank the crap out of like treble and bits of it, transients and stuff like that. We need control. If you want control, you need control. And that's just the way it is. It is not, the one that'll really get you is hi-hat and the snare mic, so I'd focus on minimizing that. And let's remember, a lot of times, it's not that you want, ideally you wouldn't have anything in your drum but the drum you want normally. And I guarantee you, if you had a drum set like that, you would like the sound of it. The reason VSTIs sound fake isn't because there's not bleed going between. It's because limited dynamic volume, velocity hits, whatever, things like that, or the way it's programmed with, like, you'd need 7 arms to be able to do it. Ideally, you wouldn't have any bleed, or maybe ideally you'd be able to control what your bleed is. So, but if you are smart about your mics and you don't parrot the usual forum nonsense, you got to put a 421 on the tom, which gets bleed all over the place. I've seen people use including me, who've used 421s just fine. But again, there could be a better choice of a mic, mostly the rejection it has, where you put the mic, how high you put the cymbals. Take a look at a real recording kit and look how high the cymbals are compared to the toms for the most part. Look how far the hi-hat is from the snare for the most part. So anyway, I've rambled on long enough, but I just want to say bleed is not your friend. I was going to go on and show how the usual safe space, which used to be gear space or whatever, they talk about dumb things like this. Again, it's just people that don't know what they're talking about having to chime in, but we'll rant on that next week. Thank you for everybody who tuned in, and thank you for locking the thread, Mr. Chicken Cakewalk Mod. But you are invited on here anytime to defend yourself, but I'll talk to you guys later. See you.